The year was 2077, and the world was on the brink of collapse. Wars, famine, and disease had ravaged the planet, leaving behind a barren wasteland where once there had been cities and civilizations. The future looked bleak, and many had given up hope. But there were those who refused to accept this fate, who believed that the course of history could be altered if they could only travel back in time and change the pivotal events that had led to this disastrous outcome. That's where Agent Carter and I came in. As members of an elite time travel unit, we had been recruited by the rebels to join their mission to alter the course of history. It was a dangerous undertaking, fraught with peril and uncertainty, but we knew that the stakes were too high to ignore. We met with the rebels in a secret underground bunker, where they laid out their plan. They had identified 3 key moments in history that, if altered, could set the world on a different path. Our mission was to travel back in time and make sure that these pivotal events went in our favor. The first mission was to prevent the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which had sparked World War I and set in motion a chain of events that had led to the current state of the world. It was a daunting task, but with the help of the rebels' time machine, we were confident that we could pull it off. As we stepped into the time machine, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The rebels had warned us that the Axis powers, who had emerged victorious in World War II in this alternate timeline, had become aware of our plan and were sending their own agents to stop us. We emerged from the time machine in Sarajevo, just as the assassination was about to take place. We had to act fast. With the help of the rebels' insider, we managed to disrupt the assassin's plan and prevent the killing. We had succeeded in our first mission. But it was only the beginning. The Axis forces were hot on our trail, and we knew that we had to move quickly if we were to complete our mission. The rebels' insider helped us evade their grasp and provided us with crucial intel that would help us in our next mission. Our next target was the Battle of Midway, a crucial naval battle in the Pacific theater of World War II. The rebels had identified a critical weakness in the Axis forces' strategy, and we had to exploit it if we were to win the battle and turn the tide of the war. But the Axis forces were prepared for us. They had deployed their own time machine and were using it to monitor our every move. We had to be careful, to think several steps ahead and outmaneuver our opponents at every turn. In a tense showdown at sea, we managed to exploit the Axis forces' weakness and secure a decisive victory. We had succeeded in our second mission, but the Axis forces were still hot on our trail. The final mission was the most dangerous of all. We had to prevent the launch of the nuclear bombs that had devastated Hiroshima and Nagasaki and brought an end to World War II. It was a moral quandary to alter history in such a way was to risk creating an alternate reality that could be worse than the one we were trying to change. But we knew that we had to do it. The Axis forces were closing in, and time was running out. We made our way to Japan, our hearts heavy with the weight of the task ahead. As we arrived in Hiroshima, we were confronted by the full might of the Axis forces. They had deployed their most advanced technology and weapons, and we knew that we were in for a difficult fight. But we were determined to see it through. We fought tooth and nail against the Axis forces, using our skills and wits to outmaneuver them at every turn. As we neared the site of the nuclear bombs, we encountered the Axis leaders themselves. They had come to stop us at any cost. In a tense standoff, we managed to overcome the Axis leaders and disable the bombs just moments before they were set to detonate. We had succeeded in our final mission, but at a great cost. Agent Carter had been injured in the battle, and we had to use the rebels' time machine to transport her back to our own time for medical attention. As I sat by her side in the hospital, I couldn't help but reflect on the gravity of what we had just done. We had altered the course of history in a profound way, and it remained to be seen what the consequences would be. But I knew that we had made the right decision, that we had to take the risk to change the future for the better. The years went by, and the world began to change in ways we had never imagined. The wars, famine, and disease that had once plagued the planet began to subside, and a new era of peace and prosperity emerged. It was a future that we had helped to create, a future that we had risked everything to achieve. But the shadows of the past remained, haunting us with the knowledge of what we had done. I often wondered what would have happened if we had failed, if the Axis forces had succeeded in stopping us. Would we have been erased from existence, our memories and actions undone? It was a thought that kept me up at night, even as I celebrated the new world that we had helped to create. The future was never certain, and it was up to us to shape it in a way that we could be proud of. And as I looked back on our mission, I knew that we had done just that. The specifics of time travel and the consequences of altering the timeline were unclear and hotly debated among scientists, historians, and philosophers. Some believed that changes to the past would result in the immediate erasure of the present, while others thought that the effects of such changes would take years, if not decades, to manifest. In our case, we were never entirely sure what would happen if we failed in our mission. The Rebels' time machine was a prototype, and its creators had warned us of the risks involved in altering the timeline. But we knew that we had to take the chance, that the future we were fighting for was worth the risk. As it turned out, our actions did not result in immediate erasure or disappearance of people or things. Instead, the changes we made took years to fully manifest. The wars, famine, and disease that once plagued the world gradually subsided, and a new era of peace and prosperity emerged. But there were subtle changes as well, changes that we could only attribute to our actions. For example, Agent Carter, who had been injured in the battle with the Axis leaders, had to be transported back to our own time for medical attention. When she returned to the future, she found that her memories had been altered slightly, as if she had lived a slightly different life. But for the most part, people's memories remained intact, and the changes we had made seemed to be accepted as if they had always been that way. It was a strange and unsettling feeling, knowing that we had altered the course of history and that we could never be sure what the consequences would be. But we knew that we had made the right decision, that we had taken a chance to change the future for the better. And as we looked back on our mission, we knew that we had succeeded in ways that we could never have imagined.